Hey guys, welcome to my apartment in Bologna. I'm not sure if I told you this, but I'm here for an Erasmus. And yeah, long time no see. I hope I don't have to say this, but I don't know when this will come out because I'm bad at editing things consistently. Never mind. I actually have a lot of topics because I went back in my notebook and I can see that I wrote some stuff I wanted to talk to you guys about. But these are things that I'm not thinking about right now, so I think it's gonna be easier if I talk about what's been on my mind recently. I really wanted to talk about, first of all, ADHD and motivation. I have ADHD. I've discovered I have ADHD I think 2 years ago, and I got a prescription for medication for that, which really helped me write my bachelor thesis. Yeah, and the meds were helpful, but then I had some problems sleeping because I took them with my breakfast and I didn't eat breakfast first thing in the morning, so I would take them later a bit at 11 or 12, so they were kind of still working when it was time for me to wind down before bed, and I couldn't stop doing things. I was focusing on random stuff instead of actually winding down and going to sleep. So I stopped taking them after writing the thesis, which is actually recommended if you take ADHD meds. It's recommended to take breaks and to get off them so that you can see what changes to your life that you made on medication kind of stays with you, and what you have to still work on, what's still difficult, basically. So you're supposed to get off them, but I never started taking them again after the break because I discovered that I can actually now manage without them, at least when I don't have to study that much or do that much academic work. But I wanted to talk about what it feels like for me being on medication and not being on medication, because I feel like it's a misconception about ADHD medication that it gives you motivation to do stuff, which is kind of true but not really, because I discovered that for me the problem with ADHD and executive dysfunction that the meds help me deal with, the problem is not motivation itself, because I feel like I'm a very highly motivated person, but my problem is ADHD is the obstacle between having an idea and actually doing something about it, either acting on it or even writing it down. And without medication, I always have these doubts and second thoughts before I actually get to do something. With medication, it's I have an idea, I write it down straight away. I have willpower to actually take steps towards making it happen, whatever the idea might be. Without medication, let's say, okay, because another thing is, it's not only work stuff, which if it would be only work stuff, things I have to do, or academic stuff with studying, it's understandable that you don't want to do it, kind of, But my problem is that it's not only about the difficult stuff, but also about exciting stuff. Let's say I have an idea to meet up with my friends and do a certain activity, which at first I think it would be really exciting and they would be into it and it's a fun way of spending time, whatever. So I have an idea like that, and on medication I'm writing down names of the people that I have in mind and then texting them, calling them, well, immediately or after planning the activity. And without medication, I'm do they want to spend time with me? Do they have time right now? What are they doing in their lives? And would they be actually interested? And then I'm I don't think that person would be interested. I don't think that person has time for that. And actually, it would be really hard to get all of them to actually make time for doing that activity, even if they want to do it. And even if they would find it interesting, maybe they don't want to do it. And I'm I get into overthinking this before I even talk to them about it. Like, in reality, I have no idea what they would think about that activity or that plan. And I'm not sure if it's an ADHD thing or maybe like kind of an anxiety thing or something like that. See, that's the difference. With the medication, I act on the idea, and even if it doesn't happen, or like if I discover there is something that prevents me from doing this idea, or like actually something changes, at least I have done something towards making it happen, and then it didn't happen because of a reason. And if I'm not on medication, I'm stressed and anxious before I even take any steps towards making this happen. So that's the difference for me between like taking meds and not taking meds. And also another thing is that when I take the medication, I almost feel like I'm cheating in a way, because there's this obstacle that I couldn't overcome, and then I'm taking a pill and it's not there. Like, it feels like I'm cheating, but actually the thing is, I've recently heard some doctor, I don't remember his name, talking about how taking medication for a person with an ADHD is like wearing glasses for a person that needs glasses. It's not that you're stupid or like you're not trying as hard as everybody else. He said that it's just your eyeballs are shaped funny. And like with an ADHD person, it's just the fact that your brain is shaped funny or like works in a funny way, so that you need something to help you deal with that funny shaped part of you. You wouldn't say to a person that wears glasses, why can't you do it without it? Are you just that lazy? No, because they're not lazy. They literally can't do it without the glasses. So that's a metaphor that helps me like deal with this idea that I'm cheating while taking medication. Yeah, that's what I try to remind myself when I feel like I'm cheating, or when I don't want to take medication because I can do it without it. Like, yeah, you can, but it's gonna cost you like twice the time, twice the energy, or like 10 times the energy, and you're gonna feel miserable the whole time you're doing it, because you have to actively like shut down that little voice in your head that says it's been done before, you know, you shouldn't do it because it's been done before, or oh yeah, it's a good idea, but you should take a course before you actually do it, or like you should like prepare in some way. Let's say, for example, I'm trying to record a video, so of course I have to wait for my roommate to go out, but like then I'm trying to find like excuses, because I'm like, oh no, she's gonna be back in like 1 hour or something, which is not really a problem. I'm just gonna stop talking or try to like make it shorter, so that's not a problem. And then I'm also, okay, but I have to like dress nice, you know? No, you don't. Like, there's people in their sweatpants on YouTube, it's fine. It's not that deep. So yeah, it's really hard for me to take the pressure off with, you know, trying to do everything like properly, you know, because it's actually another thing that I keep telling myself, which like helps me with that, is that it doesn't have to be done perfectly. It just has to be done, which is one of my favorite phrases recently, and I keep using it every day when I'm brushing my teeth or flossing. Flossing is a good example, because I'm like, I really don't want to do it, like it's gonna take, it's another step in the bathroom. But like I keep telling myself, okay, you don't have to like actually focus while doing it. You don't have to think about it. You just have to do it. It's still better than not doing it, because that's the trick my brain kind of does on me. It says, if you're not gonna do it properly, what's the point in doing it? Which is clearly like doesn't make sense, but like my brain convinces me that's the way it is, and that I have to like do things perfectly or there is no point in doing them, which is not true. And it's not true for you as well. And another phrase I keep telling myself recently, which really helps me with, I don't know, with life in general, I would say. I don't remember who said that, but I saw it in a YouTube video. How we choose to spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. Which is like, I know, obvious, but groundbreaking at the same time. Because like, if you ask yourself how you want to spend your life, you name all sorts of different things. You say, oh, I want to study this, I want to work as this person, I want to be an active person and like work out every other day or something like this. And then I want to read books. And then I want to, watch movies, go to art galleries, whatever it is. I want to dress nicely. That's a big one too. I want to eat well, healthy. And like, you have all these things. Like, it's right there. You know what you want. But then you go to the kitchen and you want to have a snack. Like, you don't want to cook a big healthy meal. Or you have to go to class, and to dress nicely, you have to wake up early. And like, it actually helps you evaluate what you actually want, because some of these ideas are nice in theory, but then when it comes to actually doing it, you're like, do I care that much about this? I don't. My example is that I don't really care what I look like going to class, It's not that big of a deal. However, I discovered that if I get ready, I'm more likely to get some work done after class, like go to a cafe or a library and like actually sit down and study. And when I'm in my, sweatpants, I'm like, okay, ready to go home, back to bed. And like, you have to evaluate kind of what you're gonna get from doing what you actually want to do and doing the comfortable option. And another like example of this is when you get home from work and you're like, okay, let's lay down, let's make some food, and then let's lay down and see what's new on TikTok, which is fine. Like, I do it too. I don't think it's inherently a bad thing to go on TikTok once in a while. But then when you find yourself scrolling for an hour and then another hour passes, I find it really helpful to remember the phrase. You have to actually get up and do the stuff you want to do if you want to live like you said you want. So I don't know if it's just me that finds it helpful, but if you're like me, there you go. That's a kind of a life hack. It actually helps me to set my priorities right. And then another thing that helps me is watching the people that implement these kinds of rules. If you have a lifestyle you want to achieve, it's actually beneficial, I think, to find a person that already does it and like puts it on social media, on YouTube, so that you can be reminded by watching their content how you want to live your life, what's your goal, what's your priorities, what you want to achieve. Also, I wanted to talk about downsides of taking ADHD meds, because there's a reason why I don't want to take them every day for the rest of my life. Yeah, sure, they help me like a lot to actually, get up in the morning and after breakfast not go back to bed, but like stay at my desk or go out and do something. But like, there's downsides that are not that great. So like, I just wanted to talk about them for anybody that thinks, okay, then you can just take your meds your whole life and you're gonna be this and that and like ahead of everybody. No, I'm not gonna do that. So downsides of meds. Okay, a big one is sometimes you get shaky hands. But sometimes also it's like, like having too much coffee almost. Maybe without the anxiety, and like you are overthinking, but it's a different type of overthinking. I'm not overthinking, in an anxious way anymore. When I'm on meds, I'm overthinking, overproducing ideas, let's say. Which is, there's a time and place for that, but like, maybe chill once in a while. Your sex drive is down. You're sweating a lot on medication. And again, this is like my experience with this one medication. I'm not gonna name it. So, and sometimes, as I've said before, you can't sleep properly. Like, you keep getting new ideas and like you wanna write them down or actually act on them right this second. So you're laying in bed and you're like, going through, I don't know, it's like scrolling Pinterest, but like in your head with all the things you wanna do and like feeling the urge to actually get up and like start right now. Doesn't help when you want to sleep. Sometimes you get an idea, but you can't focus. So you sit at your desk with your laptop in front of you with the work you have to do, but you keep thinking about, the exciting future, or like, it's good for creativity because like, many ideas, it's nice to have that much ideas, but when you have to like actually get to work, you have to still make yourself focus. Sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's easier. It depends on a day. That's it. That's the downsides for me. Another interesting thing that's on my mind lately is about how I feel like I'm losing my personality as I get older, which is a terrible and scary feeling but like I wanted to get into that and see what's actually the problem. Like, why am I different now than I was, I don't know, 4 years ago, let's say. And like, I think overthinking is the biggest part of losing your personality, because if you let yourself overthink too much, you stop doing things that you would do naturally before. And overthinking or anxiety, I don't know which one, like I think it's both of them, because like overthinking makes you anxious. So like the best cure for overthinking is like actually writing down the idea and making it happen. That's what I heard. So I think that as we get older, we have to be more intentional about who we are and about what we do with our free time and how we show up for ourselves and for others. And I think it's important to think about what you were like before puberty. And I'm thinking like, 8 through 12 years old. Because it was before you were socialized, or before you learned what's right and wrong, and like what hobbies are cool and what hobbies are not cool. And like you weren't really thinking about what people think of you. You weren't like worried about what other people think of you. Maybe you were worried about what your parents think of you. That's what I was like. But like, your parents are usually supportive of whatever you do. So I think that's a good like age to look at if you're wondering what you're like, because before 7 you're like barely aware of yourself, and like after that you're still childish, but then you start to develop certain interests and activities. So yeah, I think to like find out who you are, you should really look at yourself at 10 years old and look what made you excited then and what you enjoyed doing. Not only like hobbies and interests, but also you should look at what people described you as and like what you thought of yourself. That's a big one too, because I think that that's when you were the most true to yourself. For example, when I think of myself at like 8 years old, I remember, this is really specific, but I remember thinking of myself as a yellow kind of person. There's symbolism to colors. You don't have to learn it to actually kind of feel it and use it in a way. So I thought of myself as a really optimistic person, extrovert, friendly, open, like, outgoing maybe. I knew that I was a bubbly personality, sometimes overwhelming, but like it wasn't a problem then. Like it was like, I still, even then I had some comments about being like too much, which makes me really sad now that I'm thinking about it. Like, to tell an 8-year-old that she's too much, it's like, whoa. Okay. But yeah, it like the comments didn't have that much of an impact on me back then. I only started caring about this kind of stuff when I was, in middle school, so like 13 and after. So yeah, that's the kind of person I used to be, and I'm not that anymore. And I think it's because I let other people's opinions like matter to me more than what I think of myself. So yeah, that's one thing. And I was, I was really an adventurous person. I still kind of am, and I really want to embrace that part of me now. So yeah, I think when you're trying to discover what you were like and who you are, you have to look at that time in your life and like what was going on for you back then. Because also what I thought of myself was not only my opinion based on my knowledge of myself, but also it was based on opinions of other people. So when these two match, that's how I know that this is true and real. So there's that. And also there's things that you can't change about yourself, obviously. But then there's also parts of you that you can define by deciding, yes, I am that kind of person, but that's not it. That's not where it ends. You have to then act like the person you decided that you are. which is like also a big discovery for me recently, because I used to look at myself and think, okay, I'm not a consistent person. Therefore, I wasn't thinking of myself as a reliable person, which is a dangerous path because you feel like you can't rely on yourself. Like, it's not only about other people. It matters not only in context of other people, but also in your relationship with yourself. So I was thinking, okay, I'm not consistent, I'm impulsive, and I can't rely on myself. Like, me saying I'm gonna do something means nothing to me, because do I know if I'm gonna do it? No, I actually don't. This is the kind of thing I was talking about when you have to decide, yes, people can rely on me and I am a reliable person. But then you also have to, like, whenever there's a situation where you have an opportunity to prove that, you have to prove it to yourself so that you know what you think of yourself is true. That's what honor is. I recently saw a TikTok of a girl saying that basically, why did we stop doing things out of honor? Nowadays, whether you do something or not is a decision based on what's profitable for you. And like nowadays, when we're making like a decision, we're seeing, okay, what's it gonna get me? The girl in the TikTok was talking about how she made an appointment with her friend. They were gonna meet at that place at that time, and she said she's gonna be there, and they specify that it's gonna be outside. I don't know what it was, like a club or something, whatever, a concert maybe, I don't know, but like, yeah, they've agreed on meeting outside, and her friend was late, not 5 minutes, it was like 20 or more, I don't remember exactly. The security guy asked her, like, why aren't you going in? Like, the show has started. And she said, no, I'm waiting for my friend. And he said, okay, but she's not here and it's 20 or something minutes like past the show has started. It doesn't make sense. Like, why are you still waiting for her? And like, he's right, because it only makes sense when you do it because you're the type of person to wait. And like, you do it not for your profit, not because you're gonna get something out of it, but because if you wait for your friend when you said you're gonna be there and wait for her, you get to still call yourself a reliable person, basically. And she made the point that people stopped doing things out of honor because we live in a materialistic society which values money or materialistic stuff. I agree with that it's really important, I think, to sit with yourself and like think about what you want to be like and then act like the person you want to be, and do it not because of any other reason but the fact that you're that kind of person to do that. That's what makes it easier for me. It's also helpful when you, I don't know, try to go to the gym every other day and you lay on your couch, you don't want to go, whatever, and then you can say to yourself, if I go, I get to call myself a consistent person. You have to weigh like what's more valuable to you, being able to call yourself a consistent person or being comfortable for a few hours more. It's also, I'm taking a lot from Leo Skeppy podcast, which if you don't know Leo, you should definitely check him out. It's life-changing what he says in these podcasts. But like, he's saying similar things to what I've said before about showing up for yourself in the way that the person you want to be would show up. And it's funny because it's also the same as what these manifestation gurus are saying, at least some of them, because it boils down to the same thing. They make a tutorial about how to become the best version of yourself. First step is like writing down all the features the best version of yourself has and all the things you want to be in as much detail as you can. And you just write it down. That's the first step. You turn the page and then write down the actions it would take for you to be that person. Or you can phrase it differently, as in, now you have to write down what that person does, what her day looks like, at what time she wakes up, at what time she goes to work, how much time she spends on this hobby or that hobby or whatever, and like what she eats, what kinds of meals she eats, also what kind of music she listens to, okay? All this kind of stuff. Then it boils down to the same thing, that you create an idea of a person that you want to be. You take this idea and like see what it would look like in reality to be that person. What would it take to be that person, to like, you know, achieve this kind of thing? It's good advice, but I think I don't like the way the manifestation gurus talk about it. I mean, I prefer the way Leo Skepi phrases this advice, because I think many people are not getting the reality check they need from their friends. Or you could call it, I don't know, tough love. I only mean that when your friend tells you, I don't know, they want to be this and that and whatever, like you can either approach it as in, okay, they have a dream and they feel bad that they're not achieving it, so I have to make them feel good about that fact that they're not achieving it. That's one way. And that's the way when you say, it's okay to, you know, rest, however much rest you may need. Or it's okay to, you know, eat whatever you want. Or it's okay to scroll TikTok for however much time you need. And then ending it, of course, with the phrase, you're just a girl. Which is like, okay, there is time and place for that kind of talk. If you're really like, you know, going through it and you're like not in the best place, then like by all means it can be helpful to take the pressure off, because it is okay at the end of the day to scroll some TikTok or, I don't know, eat a not so healthy snack. It's not the end of the world. The thing is, you have to balance it, you know, you have to know when to push your friends and when to give them some space, you know? And so that's also my problem with the infantilization, pop psychology and therapeutic language and like self-care culture that became popular on social media. It is important, as I've said, there is time and place where people need that, of course, but there's also time and place where people need to be encouraged to get up and actually achieve their goals and like set goals in the first place. Because if you want to achieve something, you have to set the goal and then either hold yourself accountable or have people in your life do it, your loved ones preferably, because they're gonna do it in the way that works for you. They're gonna use the words that convince you, and they're gonna help you stay motivated in the way that makes you feel genuinely motivated. So yeah, you have to either hold yourself accountable for what you're doing on your day-to-day, or have your loved ones hold you accountable. Actually, both would be the best, probably. Also, don't go too far with this as well, because the most important thing is to, as I've said, balance these things. You have to like hold yourself accountable, but then you can't beat yourself up every time you screw up. Because like, I don't think seeing an episode of your series is like screwing up, you know? You don't have to spend every minute of your day being productive, because that's not healthy, that's not sustainable. You have to like make time for rest, but then taking time to rest has to end with getting up the next day, or after however you said you're gonna rest for, getting up and doing the stuff. And also with the manifestation, I think the affirmation part is important, and I think it works, but it only works if you actually believe the manifestations that you say, if you believe them to be true, which can be achieved by phrasing them in a way that you can't believe them. So like, affirmations on their own are empowering, but only if they're true to you. If you keep telling yourself, I am productive, I'm achieving my goals, I'm doing things every day that push me closer to where I want to be, cool. But if you're laying in bed while saying these, nothing's gonna happen. I don't know how to tell you this. You have to do things you said you would do, right? And like, I'm aware that there's gonna be people who don't agree with me. It's fine. You don't have to tell me. You can, but you don't have to. Because I know that what I'm saying is only gonna help people that have the same problems as me. And I know there's gonna be people who don't agree with what I'm saying, but I still want to say it because that's something I need to hear, you know? So if I'm the person that needs to hear this, I'm pretty sure there are more people like me who need to hear this. Okay, I've been rambling on for about an hour now. Is there anything else I want to say? I don't know. I've been meaning to make an episode talking about like living in Bologna as an Erasmus student and like what's it like for a Polish person to move to Italy, but like I'm not sure what's interesting and like which parts of it I should talk about. So if you have any questions, please write them down here, or you can text me on Instagram because I would love to like make an episode like that. And I'm gonna take into consideration whatever you write under this video or whatever I get into my direct messages on Instagram. Yeah, what else? I'm so proud of myself that I actually got up and recorded this because I only have a 2-hour slot where my roommate's not here, and it's difficult when she's not here, and when she is here it's impossible for me to like sit in front of the camera and talk to the camera in English because she's Polish as well. So yeah. Okay, I think that's enough. Thank you all for watching, and I love you, and I'll see you in the next video. Love you all. Bye!